Okay, so for the truth of the homeless population, 11/11/23. So, drugs. Oh, yeah. I really thought about this when I seen this Nick Johnson video titled "They're All Drug Addicts." Video. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm reading this wrong. Nick approaches a lady that's obviously on drugs. That was actually kind of funny. Just the way he did that. He's always doing and saying bullcrap. And starts the conversation about the whole homeless community being on drugs. Of course, this isn't true. Dang, I'm dyslexic. I spelled true T-U-R-E. And there isn't one situation for homelessness. But I should speak on the situation for people who are. Wait a minute. There isn't one situation for homelessness, but I should speak on. Okay, yeah. I think I said that. Okay, number one, coping. Drug addiction is a coping mechanism just like any other addiction. People with drug addiction are more talked about than people with clean and working game. I can't even read. Food or sex addiction, even though sex addiction is the biggest and most problematic addiction amongst all ages, especially with push perverse culture. All addictions are a way to dissociate from reality, to cope, and even fill voids. What is this called? I don't even know, but temporarily. Okay. Drug addiction is a symptom of bigger issues that come from trauma, like ADHD, personality disorders, and other mental labels that I like to call the off branches of complex trauma or CPTSD. All mental illness comes from trauma. That's kind of a side thing I have off to the side because sometimes I forget the right stuff. Okay, wait a minute. Did I already say this part? I like to call the off branches of complex trauma or CPTSD. I probably already said some people are addicted to and messed up from prescription drugs. What in the world? House owners do drugs. Oh, yeah. Something that people like to act like doesn't happen. The fact that people with houses do drugs. Okay. So, yeah, people in houses also do drugs. And it's weird that people try to act like this isn't true while shaming the homeless community. People in houses, especially rich people, like doctors, are making, doing, and trafficking drugs. And of course, there's other people like police, lawyers, undercovers. There was this one case I seen where the lady was like, she worked for the school board, or was a principal, something like that. I can't even really remember exactly what, but it was something with school. And I can't remember where it was. I think it was in Georgia. Or it was something like that. Okay, wait a minute. These days, a lot of people have something to cope with and are turning to weed, alcohol, etc. Because I remember this one comment under the Nick Johnson video, and this lady was like, the homeless lady said they smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol and smoke weed, and the lady in the comment was like, that's just about everybody. And it kind of reminds me of something that someone said. This was in a whole unrelated situation that had nothing to do with homelessness, but this lady has said that everybody's getting high on something these days. Not like the what is it called? Those things people say where they're trying to not take accountability. She was actually making a statement about how much of an issue it was. Anywho, especially since many of the drugs are legal, especially in mostly quote-unquote white areas, and dysfunction and sickness are normalized in today's society. So yeah, not even just in today's society, trauma symptoms have been normalized, and they've only gotten more and more normalized to where now when you see people running around pretending to be adult babies and dogs and stuff. They don't want you to say anything, and if you say anything about that or people being gender confused, then you're a bigot or what's the other thing? The other thing is something else they say. Oh yeah, the anti and phobic stuff. Like if you say anything about the Catholic Church or Catholic phobic or anti-Catholic, it's like you can't say anything about anything these days, and it's just gotten worse and worse over time because child abuse was unmatched, and so it's like now so many people are messed up, and you can't say anything about the messed upness, and you still can't even speak against child abuse either. It all goes hand in hand. That's why I always say child abuse is an agenda, not a coincidence, because it just helps the world become more messed up and get worse and worse until everything completely falls apart. And it's been falling apart. Okay, anyway. Even mental health professionals are turning to new age Wicca and using pharmakeas such as shrooms, weed, and other psychedelics. And I don't think I have the hypnosis thing on here. On people for quote unquote therapy. Okay, so the point of that is that people are always talking about these drugs and all that, but the thing is, it's being pushed to people. And I don't even know if I mentioned it here, but in certain areas, the state people come out and give drugs to the homeless population, and they claim it's to prevent relapse and all this bull crap. Really, if you ask me, it just seems like a little eugenics agenda to try to, well, not eugenics, a genocide agenda to try to take out homeless and poor people. Not that they haven't been trying to do that in different ways, but that's what this drug thing really seems like. So anyway, for 3, the white community. FBI put drugs in black communities, especially crack, in the 80s, then declared war on drugs. Then okay, wait a minute. Hold up. Okay, never mind. Then the police said they weren't gonna police quote unquote white crime. Now, white communities have and do more drugs to the point kids in these communities are getting addicted to heroin and meth at age 8 to 10. Like, there's so many stories of people being high on meth for the first time at age 8, and then they end up getting addicted after that. And even throughout being in the foster care system, if they even get into it, they're still addicted. In fact, there was this story I heard this one time with this, like, I would say they were like an upper class white family. It was stuff that okay, wait a minute. It was a documentary I seen way before I'd even pieced together the whole Cash for Kids system thing. So this is one of those documentaries that I would consider part of the Cash for Kids system, because there's shows like Beyond Scared Straight, which that was banned no, they stopped having it because people were starting to see how the prison system really is because of all the kids up in adult prisons, but people should have been knew that. And Dr. Phil and those little therapist shows where you don't even really know if the people are real therapists or not, but they bring on traumatized families, all that stuff. So this family had this son, and he was like 8, or he was currently 12 or like 10. I don't even think he was 12. He was like 10. And the family was just talking about how bad he was and how he couldn't go to sleep, and he was going through quote unquote psychosis, and he was sneaking out the window at 8 to go do heroin with these adults. Obviously, the family was covering up a whole bunch of abuse and bullcrap, because what 8-year-old sneaks out the house, and what 8-year-old sneaks out the house to go do heroin? It was just crazy, and it was obvious to me even back then when I saw this that they were lying. And at the time of me seeing this, I was probably like 9. So it was a long time ago. I don't even know if I'd still be able to find it on YouTube. But he was definitely ran through the Cash for Kids system. And he lived in, obviously, one of these types of areas. So, anywho, meth at age 8 to 10 and fentanyl, and crack is being given to them at age 12. So there's a lot of stories I hear from mostly white areas where in the abuse situations, this is common when the kid ends up getting around child molesters to try to get some type of attention, or just because they're already attracted to older people because of past sexual abuse. The child molesters are getting them on fentanyl at 12 and giving them crack and stuff. And then, of course, the kid is ran through the Cash for Kids system. And I know for one person that I knew specifically, even their parent had came to them about the fact that their kid had been being sexually exploited. And it's like, of course, they don't even talk to the kids about it because this girl hadn't even been talked to by these people enough or at all to even understand the fact that she actually was being victimized and abused. And she actually was mad at her mom for telling them about it because she still likes these dudes. And of course, that's how the system is, the Cash for Kids system, especially the mental health system. They're not actually helping anybody and never were. Of course, they've been admitted that they were never curing anybody or even had plans to cure anybody. People are really just sitting up in these facilities as they rack up money, and they're not even talking to these kids or adults. Okay, anyway. So many addicted homeless have been addicts since they were children. Just like how many have been homeless since they were a child. Side note, these communities supply homeless with drugs. Also, I did say it. So yeah, there's these people that come out and give the homeless people needles and stuff for quote unquote safety reasons. Okay, so this is for the homeless young. I know my handwriting is bad. I was trying to write this as quick as possible. Okay, so speaking for the US, that's something that I like to say though, because I can't speak for anywhere else. And in fact, I know at least in the UK, you can leave home at like 16 and then you go to this place called the council and they help you get a flat, which is like an apartment and a job and all that. But here you just have to lay low till 18. Okay, so anyway, some kids and teens notice their abuse situations early, realize there is no system put in place to help, or give up on begging what they believe are helpers for help. By that I mean they give up on begging the systems, like teachers, school guidance counselors, social workers, all that. So for safety reasons, they leave an abuse situation on their own under 18. In the US, people under 18 don't have rights, so people under 18 have to lay low till 18 after leaving abuse to avoid getting charged, locked up, and sent home, or to avoid being dragged into some other part of the Cash for Kids system like the CPS trafficking system. I should have also said well, I guess I meant the prison system when I said locked up, but I know usually when I say locked up, I think of mental facilities, but either one really. Okay, so although people usually have multiple run-ins with CPS/social workers before realizing they have to run away, and the U.S. people under 18 can't go to shelters. Okay, wait a minute, I'm messing this up. I guess it's the way I'm reading it that's making it sound bad. But yeah, so in the US, people under 18 can't go to shelters, can't get a job. Wait a minute. Can't go to shelters, get a job, or get food stamps if there's a missing persons report. So you can't do anything. You already really can't do anything under 18. But if there's a missing persons report, which there most likely will be, even if you get kicked out, then you're just gonna have to wait till 18 and you're not gonna be able to do jack. Homeless people under 18 are pretty much in waiting grounds until 18. If they aren't able to get their vital records from their abusers, even at 18 plus, they're trapped in homelessness because you can't work or do anything without vital records. Just like with the homeless veterans who got driven crazy in the military and lost their vital records. Some people start living this lay low life. Wait. I read that all wrong. Some people start living this lay low abuse escape lifestyle at ages 12 to 14. Ones who are able to get their vital records at age 18 from their abusive family or social worker / CPS do get jobs at 18 or younger if there's no missing persons report. But many remain homeless well into their 20s, especially due to living expenses these days. Okay, so this was a story from a dude I called the Guadalajara meth addict. Was homeless since age 7, got false charges even though... Okay, wait a minute. I forgot that I didn't write the situation. I kind of just left little notes so I could remember what to say. So yeah. He was homeless since age 7, got false charges even though PO officers knew he wasn't allowed to come home. Had to prostitute for food. And it was to like old dudes because women usually won't pay for sex for whatever reason. And so, of course, that's like, honestly, he probably also has a little bit of DID on top of that other issues he had. He definitely turned into a narcissist, and he claimed that it was because you have to be a little narcissistic to survive in society, but I mean, it was really just some bull crap. And it was kind of crazy though, because I met him in a support group, and it's like people spend so much time focusing on other narcissists in the world, because that's what he would talk about a lot, how society was just narcissistic, which is true, but yet you're one and you're admitting you're one. So what what difference do you make in society? That was the funny part. Okay, so he joined the military since he was able to get vital records and seen no other options since he couldn't go to school in his abuse situation. And now he has a house and is addicted to meth. And he's, of course, wait a minute. Of course, he grew up in one of these areas where people are getting addicted to all types of drugs really young, because the whole quote unquote won't police white crime. So he had been on drugs and what's the other thing? From mostly, oh, you already said that. I just said that. Okay, so then I'm supposed to speak on this person I recently met. I have mucus buildup. Wait a minute, hold up. Okay, so I recently met somebody who's 26. She was kicked out at 17. She actually never did do the whole tent camping thing. She said that she spent a lot of the years couch surfing. And she's still homeless and she has to get out the shelter soon because you can only stay for six months. But she's about to start renting a room because, for one, rent is too expensive for somebody who's single to even be able to afford to live anywhere by themselves. So at least she's finally getting a place. And that's the thing. It's kind of like when you're just thrown out into the world. Okay, wait a minute. Well, yeah, when you're thrown out into the world with no help, or you have to leave a bad situation where you basically have to hide, or you're still kind of like out there with no help, you can get stuck for a while, or you can end up stuck forever. And that's what I've realized with looking at other people. in their situations. Okay, so foster care. A big portion of the homeless population are foster youth, as well as victims of other parts of the Cash for Kids system, where they're trafficked, drugged, labeled, driven crazy, or sometimes they come out stable enough, locked up with no rights, and then kicked out at 18, onto the streets with no money, no sense of self, lots of trauma, and not knowing how to work or really how to do a lot of things that they really should be taught, but of course they aren't. It's like getting out of prison after being locked up since childhood, which that's also an issue for a lot of people too, especially when you have nowhere to go. And sometimes they don't even really want to release the people if they don't have anywhere to go. Not saying that the prisons usually care. They 99% of the time they don't, but sometimes they get a little hesitant about I don't even know what I was about to say. So anywho, foster care. These kids commonly fall into drugs and also don't get an education due to various reasons. This is why some states are putting programs in place for foster kids, but of course these programs don't fit for everyone, and also some states. So there's still a lot of places where there is no help for them at 18 plus, but I heard that you have to sign up to get these little get into these help programs by like 18 or something, maybe younger. So your foster parents are supposed to sign you up. And a lot of people end up not getting signed up, and so they're still homeless at 18, and the foster parents still all the money that's supposed to be given to them at 18 plus. And so, okay, wait a minute. Some kids also get sex trafficked by CPS or outside people, which I'm not even talking about the child prostitution, sex trafficking. That's also an issue, but it seems like people go from CPS to global SRA sex trafficking, and of course, few people make it out of that. And the ones that do usually don't want to talk about their situation because, for one, you get labeled off as crazy, and then all the death threats you get, and then it puts you at risk of being found by the traffickers. And others just end up so broken and they really can't speak up for themselves, and they're just like really messed up. Okay, so if they're lucky enough to even escape, they have no way of getting vital records and find it hard to get help because they're called crazy or put in jail when they speak out. Especially since Americans think sex trafficking in general is a conspiracy theory or a quote-unquote coincidence, like they do for really all abuse, because a lot of people think that abuse is just something that just happens every now and then, even though just about every system put in place profits off of trauma and messed up people in some way, or even helps traumatize people. So, foster care, taming. Okay, so taming and foster care. This is about to be a little definition. When kids of any ethnicity or quote unquote race are taken from their Asian, Mexican isn't a race, but this is just an example. Asian, Mexican, Negroid, whatever, family, and put in a Caucasian, white supremacist family where okay, wait a minute. Where they're ethnically cleansed, turned out, which means sexually abused, and then they get them to get into the same gender, just end up gender confused or whatever. Trafficked, abused, brainwashed about their self, or just really a lot of things. Which there's already enough issues with Willie Lynch syndrome and colorism in melanated communities anyway. And all this to make them quote unquote unsavage, which I've met more so recently. I met an Asian dude who went through this taming process in the foster care system. And I've heard a couple other stories, and I've seen a couple people that are probably going through this. So these foster kids end up kicked out at 18 or having to run away, like the Asian dude I met, under 18. They also end up gender confused, very traumatized, on drugs young, and with no sense of self. I kind of just said that, but I've met Asian people and others in this situation who are so used to being homeless, they don't see any other way and rather live in a car. I've also met many foster kids / young adults in this situation who are addicted to drugs. Oh yeah, I forgot about this other person. In fact, I've met her before I started meeting anybody else. But what was the same situation? Who are addicted to drugs and wander in the streets confused, who are temporarily kicked out by their foster parents off and on. Yet they have cognitive dissonance so bad they thank the system. But this specific person that I'm talking about that was thanking the system, who went through the whole chainment thing, it's honestly really, really sad, because it's like, due to people usually thinking that I'm way younger than I actually am, she's always talking about how I need to get in the system and how she thanks the system for her opportunities and all that. And I'm like, the opportunity to do what? Scrub basement floors for rich white people and be addicted to drugs and be kicked out off and on, but then let back to babysit other relatives, because that's what was going on the last time I seen her, which was probably like a month or two ago, where they let her back in the house so she could babysit. Why somebody would want somebody that's addicted to all those different types of drugs to babysit, I don't know. I guess they just don't care, which makes sense. And then they also had some kids that they had adopted from Haiti, like those people like to do. Anywho, homeless people don't work. Only homeless with no vital records are severely broken / mentally ill, very old, or have physical disabilities or serious drug addiction. Don't work. Because that's something that's commonly thrown up, and that's really not even true. Because even the ones I've seen who are on drugs visibly, they have jobs, which is kind of something to me, but it just shows that you have to be really, really badly on drugs to not have a job from the looks of it. And so I've seen meth, coke, etc. addicts with jobs, but the ones whose health is too impacted don't have jobs. Okay, wait a minute. There's also issues with jobs laying people off all the time and firing even people who aren't on drugs. And so, volunteer guy. Oh yeah, so there was this dude I met who volunteered at this one shelter like, well, no, it wasn't a shelter. It was just like, it was some Southern Baptist white nationalist bullcrap, but it was some place that gave out food and stuff to homeless people. So a peanut butter jelly sandwich and barbecue chips, because that's a meal apparently. And so basically what he did is he worked his whole life, raised kids, and then once his kids went off to college and stuff, he started questioning everything and started questioning the systems and why he was even spending his life like this. And so he chose freedom and peace, basically. And that's the thing. Something I've noticed with people with houses, like the rich ones are, well, really not even the rich ones. It's really the poor people and middle class people with houses. I think that's even middle class that are living to pay bills and living paycheck to paycheck. They feel upset, and really a lot of people do, even ones with a lot of money, they feel upset that they were duped into living a life for the system and being enslaved to the systems, and that there's people who figured out that you don't have to do that. And the people who figure that out aren't the average homeless people. It's usually vagabonds, which commonly have money, but they travel a lot. Those are the people that a lot of people with houses are jealous of, because the people with houses feel like they're in marriages they hate, taking care of kids they don't want, and stuff like that. And it's like they project all their angry emotions on the people that they feel like are broke, homeless, non-functioning members of society. And so, uneducated. That's what this paragraph is titled. So, all there is to do is read. So many homeless people read all day. A lot of homeless are geniuses that were shut up and or driven crazy by society because they were a threat to the systems of society, which is honestly really true. I think you'll meet some of the smartest people out here, and that's something that a lot of people who actually really pay attention to the homeless community and go out there and meet and talk to people and aren't just trying to either use people as a charity case or make people look bad, those are the ones that actually notice that a lot of the smartest people are really out here on the streets, because society doesn't like people who are a threat to the systems. But yeah, so people that didn't fit in, and then the last one. Okay, so houseful people's jealousy. So this is for people with houses, or the people that are always talking junk at least. There's also a group called vagabonds. These are nomadic people who travel and enjoy nature, not quote-unquote homeless bums. Some were once wait a minute, oh my gosh. Kids who escaped abuse and never stopped traveling. Some are former kicked out foster kids living RV life, like some 19-year-old artists I met. Others own businesses, and some just had a wake up to reality call, or would it be a wake up call to reality? Like the volunteer dude I met. Either way, people with houses who are struggling, living to pay bills, living paycheck to paycheck, are envious of vagabonds, because vagabonds are actually at peace, living healthy lives and seeing the world. An accomplishment many people who work their whole lives and get retirement don't even get to do, commonly because of Western brainwashing, fear, bad financial management, and income taxes. People are mad that they're too scared to take their lives back from a system of bondage that will soon tax them to death. Oh, tax them to breathe. Which they already tried that in the UK. But from what was it they said? From what I heard, the people, they, what is it called? They boycotted it or something like that. They just protested the carbon monoxide tax to Bill Gates. I'm pretty sure that's who it's to. I wouldn't be surprised, because everybody's hot breath is making the world end, but not child abuse. And everybody becoming messed up and confused. And so, to end this off, not to mention the fact that taxpayer dollars fund the multi-billion-dollar Cash for Kids system. I don't even think I read that right. But yeah, so that is the truth of the homeless population.